I'm just so used to this mindset of working with business owners that have already invested a chunk in branding, and she had, and invested a chunk in packaging, which she had. But like, here's a third thing. And I'm like, oh, clearly you must be trying to save money by now. It's like, that was my own mental thing.
Yes.
And she's like, no, like, I really want to impress people and knock their socks off. And I was like, well, in that case, I was like, well, if the sky was the limit, this is what I would do. She's like, I love where your brain's at. She's like, that's what I want to see. I want you to hit me with this. And what a blessing that is of like not having to, I was like, wow, I just put all these imaginary constraints on this project that weren't even there.
Kiss my aesthetic, branding, marketing, entrepreneurship.
Greetings and welcome back to the Kiss My Aesthetic podcast. I'm so excited to have Molly on today. Welcome, Molly.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Oh, we're so excited. We are on a blitz of interviewing muralists far and wide. I kind of put out the beacon call on Threads, like, okay, I want to talk to more artists, like, who's here? And I believe that you might have found us through that way. But for anyone who doesn't know you, tell us who you are, what you do, and who you help.
Yeah, I did find you on Threads. That was so fun.
That's right.
So my name is Molly. As you said, I go by Made by Molly Joe on Instagram. That's also my business name. I'm a muralist and illustrator based out of Minneapolis, Minnesota, but I do murals, all over the place across the Midwest, but open to traveling across the country as well.
Oh my gosh. And I was just cruising your website a little bit before this. You do commercial murals, you do residential murals, some illustration work. How did you get to today? Like, what's the backstory? What did you study? What were your interests? How did you realize, oh, I think I could actually make money doing this muraling thing?
Yeah. So I had a very weird zigzag snowball effect to get to where I am today. I get the question a lot, like, did you study art? Are you an art major? And the answer is a hard no. I majored in French.
Hey.
But my parents are actually both creatives. I grew up in a really artistic home. I've always done like creative work on the side and been interested in that, but I've just always pursued a lot of different interests. In college, I knew I wanted to travel, so I studied French. I did take some art classes, but didn't wind up doing anything in like a major or minor with that. But when I graduated from college, I knew I wanted to travel. I moved around a lot, but I was always doing creative things on the side and doing like little, like online workshops and just kind of painting, drawing, doing that kind of thing. When I settled back in Minneapolis, like in the last 10 or 15 years, I was working in a restaurant. I loved my job, but I was interested in, maybe getting a little bit more serious about something creative because that was something that my curiosity always led towards. And I actually found a class for calligraphy that was being hosted locally, which was something that always interested me. And so I took that class, and it was just at a season in my life when I had a lot of friends starting to get married. So it was like, would you do this for my wedding? And I was like, sure, I would be happy to do that. And then friends of friends started asking me. And that was kind of my first entry into the world of like, I could like make a little side hustle out of something creative. I could start charging for some of this. So when I first entered like creative business, it was very much in the wedding world with calligraphy. But that actually snowballed pretty quickly from like invitation calligraphy to custom signage. And then the custom signage just started getting bigger. Like I said, I was working in a restaurant at the time. So then I started doing custom signage for some restaurants and chalk menus. And that is when it kind of opened my eyes to this whole world of like sign painting, hand lettering, murals, just something that I didn't really even consider before was a job. I just didn't even know about it. And now it's been about 5 years of me doing primarily murals and illustration. I still every once in a while will do a calligraphy pop-up, but for the most part, it is all murals and illustration.
How funny is it that weddings are the gateway drug to like the side hustle?
I know.
Because I'm in that season. Oh my gosh. I like can't
it makes sense.
Yes.
It makes sense. Like they're evergreen. There are always people getting married. I mean, even in the pandemic, it was like that was thank goodness I had weddings to do because people were still getting married.
Yeah. My sister is a wedding planner, but now I'm at the age where like all my friends are starting to get married, and like my contribution is always making like the bachelorette party t-shirt. So it's like I can make merch all day long. Like I love this. So I'm like deep in. I have actually a bridal shower tomorrow for one of my best friends. We did all the signage. We did all the, like the menus and the things and like designed all the stuff up. And I'm sitting with my friend she's a PhD physical therapist, and she's like watching me on Canva. She's like, how are you doing this? And I was like, it is my job. So no worries. So this is great. So you kind of went through restaurant space. We have a lot of parallels because I'm also like super traveler, super foodie, like love all of these things and all of these spaces. What do you feel like was the most satisfying between making something that was more small and holdable to making something big and impressive? I've got to imagine that's a satisfying kind of transition, or
I mean,
terrifying.
I mean, the wow factor of like literally being able to see the fruits of my labor right away is
Yes.
pretty cool. You know, when I worked with calligraphy, a lot of times I would just do my job on my living room table and then I pass it off to the bride or groom and then I don't see it again. So
Right.
working on murals and being able to like, there's some in my city that I can drive past every day. That's very cool. And then, you know, to be super blunt, just the income shift,
Yeah.
like being able to charge thousands for something versus like a bunch of little $100, $200, $300
Right.
things was a real shock.
Right. Talk to us about some of your favorite projects, like those big, large scale murals that you get to drive by, or the difference between kind of the commercial side of the muraling and the residential side of the muraling.
Yeah, you know, big and small murals both have their pros and cons, right? I mean, I do love working on a huge project. I did one like a year and a half ago now that was on the exterior of an apartment building, which was actually 5 big cement panels. And that's one of the biggest ones I've ever done because I was essentially designing 5 murals. And I just loved the like scale of that and being able to create so many things that then get to live in public art in the public eye for so long. So I loved that. But I also really do love the smaller projects, both residential and smaller like restaurant work that I've done, because individuals and small businesses alike have such a distinct brand story. And I love being able to like really, really put a mark on that and truly bring it to life and helping them translate this vision they have to define the space that they're living in, working in, building up. I really, really love that.
Okay, talk us through that process, because obviously we're brand designers and do brand design and social media marketing. Murals are amazing for social media as well, as far as like being that visual hook to get somebody to want to go somewhere. Like we definitely saw that take off in the last 10 years. But talk to us about, let's say a restaurant's opening and they come to you and they say, okay, we want a mural. This is our space. How do you start to kind of get them on the path of thinking what the possibilities could be? Because I've got to imagine sometimes these business owners are all over the place with what they want their vision of their mural to be.
Oh, yeah. It can run the gambit of people who know like pretty exactly what they want to people who are like, I don't know, I like everything. And, you know, again, pros and cons to all of it. And part of my job is to, like, as you said, like figure that out and help hone their direction. So the very first thing that I like to do is just talk to them about the space and hear what their vision is, hear their brand story. So for someone like a restaurant, I'm like, tell me about your menu. Like, why did you want this space? What do you want people to feel when they come here? Are you wanting it to be like elevated, crazy new experience, something they've never tasted before? Do you want it to be more like home cooked, like kitchen counter? Do you want it to be grab and go? And then that kind of transitions into like keywords like, you know, cozy, natural, warm, inviting. So once we have that initial style conversation, I mean, if they're local, a lot of times I'll meet on site. Otherwise, it's something we do just via a Zoom call or email plenty of times as well. But the first step after we've just had that initial interview together is I'll put together some mood boards for them that just kind of filter things into a few different general style directions that I think would work really well to translate what they shared with me about their goals for the space. And then within those mood boards, I'll also include some pricing tiers for them so they can see examples of like, well, this is what it would be if we cover just this wall or if we do this much detail. And then we'll usually kind of go over those mood boards together, either hop on another call or they can just email me with their thoughts. And then the custom design process starts from there.
Amazing. Okay, so very similar to branding, right? You're getting all that discovery information, you're getting all the mood boarding pulled together, you're getting those keywords, and then now it's time for you to design. One of the questions I get asked all the time is where I find inspiration, and my first obvious answer is travel and food. But I'm curious. I'm curious because with muralists too, I think even more than branding, like I feel with branding, I have to be a bit more of a chameleon, right? Like you really have to solve the problem for that business owner, even if it's not like what I would personally choose for my brand. You know what I mean? Like it's that delicate balance. But of all the muralists I've talked to, we talked in such detail about finding your style and how great it is when someone hires you for your style. But how do you even get to the point where you're like, okay, this is me, but this is not me? Like, how do you sort through that kind of, especially if the client's showing you something that you're like, I don't know.
I know that is kind of like an evergreen question, I think, as a muralist, because your style can, I mean, just as an artist, your style can change, what you're offering changes from like a logistics standpoint, as far as finding your style and like what to do when someone's showing you things that just don't quite feel right. I would say just like when you're starting to build your portfolio, when I was getting started, I made sure to do like mock-ups and just fake passion they were real passion projects, but they weren't necessarily client work. And I made sure to do stuff that did represent what I wanted. And even in the beginning, I didn't even really know how to define that, but I knew what I liked and I knew what I didn't. And then eventually people started kind of feeling that tug towards the same things that I like. So as far as finding the style, I mean, I honestly think it can be as important to just like know what you don't like versus like being able to define what you do like, because sometimes you just can't put your finger on it and that's okay. But yeah, I think as far as like inspiration goes, I mean, truly it's the stories of the people that I'm working with. Like with a restaurant, I mean, hearing about their menu, hearing like what made them want to open it. I love that. And, seeing what the other interiors that they've decided, or if I'm doing a residential mural, like seeing what things are special in their space, like little travel things that they have framed on the walls, or like the fun throw pillows that they picked for their couch, just seeing those little glimpses of life and seeing how clearly that's resonated with them because they've decided to like feature that in their home, and then kind of drawing that parallel of like, well, that speaks to me too. So where can we find that overlap and bring more of that?
Yeah, the center of the Venn diagram, right? Like I might be over here, you might be over here, but this is where we combine in the middle, which is really exciting. I think that's kind of the fun challenge of being a creative in a lot of ways. But talk to us a little bit about like where your business is going to be going now, right? So we're in a new year with new energy. It's been the longest month of January I've ever remembered. And there's a lot of things changing. Like it feels like our space is changing. It feels like entrepreneurship is changing. The world is changing. What are things that you're looking forward to, or what are things that are kind of causing you pause that you're thinking about as just as an entrepreneur, not even specifically as a muralist?
Yeah, I mean, there's the social media of it all, right? I feel like that is just the buzz topic du jour, and it has been for a while, but just especially the last couple months. I mean, obviously with everything with TikTok and there's new platforms coming about. I honestly have just never been super savvy with social media. It is a place that actually a decent amount of clients find me. But I think this year in particular, like I'm already feeling burnt out from social media, and it's still January today as we are recording this. So I'm really just trying to lean into what are other aspects of my business that like, yes, I can still have a presence on particularly Instagram. That's kind of my, my choice for social media. I'll still have a presence there, but what are the other ways that people can find me? Like, where are other spaces that I can live in? So I've just really been focusing on like SEO, and which feels a little bit more evergreen. I mean, it kind of builds itself up, which is great. Focusing on building out a newsletter so that I have ownership of these people that actually decide that they want to follow me, that I don't necessarily risk losing that audience in an instant. Yeah. And just really the mindset around, I've been doing murals as my bread and butter offering for like 4 or 5 years now. And there is a lot of up and down. I mean, there'll be really, really quiet months. And then there's a month where it's like, I mean, just in 2024, I made 50% of my annual income in like 8 weeks. Like it was bonkers. It was busy. So just really kind of getting my mindset in a healthy place with my mental health, with just knowing like there are peaks and valleys. And at the end of the day, a lot of that doesn't have to do with me. Like other businesses just have to do it in their time as well. And I just have to trust their process, and I'm present and there for them when they're ready. But it's really, as long as I'm doing everything I can just trust that they're going to get to me at the right time as well.
Yeah, I think that's it's such a real thing, especially as a business owner. And the longer you do it, you think you're going to get better at it. Like, it's like, oh, I've been doing this long enough. Like, I know what it's like to have a slow season, but this happened for us in Q4. Like, it was really hard. It was hard to break through the noise. It was hard with an election cycle. It was hard to want to focus on helping people build their businesses with everything going on in the world. It's like, oh my gosh. So it's tricky because I think even still, I've been doing this is my 11th year in business, which is wild, but it's more looking at things like, okay, big picture. And if you have a down year, you have a down year. You know how many businesses have down years?
Yeah. When you look at it in this, when you look at it in the scope of like 3 years, you're like, oh, I averaged like
we're
great.
Fine.
We're good.
We're good.
Yeah. And even looking at like, it can be super hard. My first like couple years in business doing murals in particular, it was really hard. Like getting my head wrapped around like, I would do a bunch of outreach and not hear anything. And I've just kind of been at this long enough that I can see some patterns now. Like it is so important to look back at when I got clients, what kind of clients I got. And I've noticed for me, after the holidays is just dead. I mean, there's just nothing. It's like, it's Q1. Businesses don't necessarily know how they're going to be handling their budget yet. And so I've just decided the last 2 or 3 years, I don't take client work in January.
There you go. Yeah.
Because it's just exhausting. People aren't in the right spot for it. It's not my time to like introduce myself. So January is when I do things like revamp my website. I take creative classes. I call it my creative sabbatical because I'll try to sign up for like a painting class or a clay workshop.
Oh yeah.
And it's I try to focus on the things that I know the rest of the year I will want to be able to pull from that well.
Yes. Oh my gosh, let's talk about that because I think that's such an underrated topic as well. For us,
Mhm.
it's funny because like that's what we do in December because we're never
Mhm.
going to start somebody's project. Our project scope is usually like anywhere from 4 to 12 weeks. So like we're not going to
Mhm.
start you, take 2 weeks off for the holiday and then try to jump back in. That's just silly.
Right.
So same thing, like we work on redoing the website, we work on tracking all of our leads. How often are you having these kind of like dates with like yourself X the business? Like, how often do you check in on these things? And let's talk about the kind of like setting aside time to invest in those creative sources so that you can pull from it later. Cause I find myself
Mhm.
doing the same thing.
Mhm. I mean, is it on my calendar weekly? Yes, it is. Do I do it
I
weekly?
love that.
No, I do not.
It's
But
there though.
it is there. It is something that
Yeah.
I see, and I try to consistently set aside, like, Mondays are my admin day, Fridays are my creative
Yeah.
exploration day, and then current projects are everything in between. But of course, that gets shuffled, especially if it's weeks when I'm on site painting. I have to shift that
Right.
around. But I really do try to prioritize those things that I know fuel me, because I'm sure you've seen gosh, I forget the name of it, but it's like the hierarchy of needs pyramid.
Yes.
And it's the base of it is like, food, water, drink. And then it's
Yep.
like friends, community. That creative space is
Mm-hmm.
only available on like the third tier. So if you
Uh-huh.
are burning yourself out and you're not eating and you're
Mm-hmm.
not drinking water and you're not like, guess what? You're never going to feel creative. So you
Mm-hmm.
have to build that
Mm-hmm.
space in with it. And I just really try to keep that front of mind. Like that's really something. I worked with a business coach over the last couple of years, and that was something that was a huge takeaway of just like
Oh,
prioritizing the balance of those things, because you're never like,
yeah.
that's what, you're an entrepreneur. Your to-do list is never done. So
Yes, exactly. And there's
making space to do the things that is like the quote unquote fun work.
Yes. And you learn which things are regenerative. Like
Yes.
you learn which things give you more juice in the battery. So I'm with you on that completely. And it's a lot of the reason why this podcast exists. I genuinely love talking to people. I love having these conversations because this
Mm-hmm.
gets me thinking differently and thinking better about how I can go serve my clients or how I could pitch somebody on a mural or like, you know what I mean? Like
Mm-hmm.
there's this good, and especially on a Friday when it's like, it's the end of the week, I don't want to be sending emails or being an illustrator right now. There are those things. So when you can make room for it, it just propels you more towards balance all around. As you've heard me say time and time again on this podcast, what worked in 2024 for social media management is not the same as what's going to cut it in 2025. Platforms are shifting, algorithms are chaotic, and keeping up feels like playing whack-a-mole in the wild, wild west. That's exactly why we made our 2025 social media webinar. This is the deck that we actually sent to our clients. It's 65 slides long. And in the 45-minute webinar, I basically walk you through all the platforms, who owns them, their involvement with the current political administration, what are the pros and cons of each platform, what content performs best, as well as what our team would need for strategy, content creation, and posting and engagement to run the strategy on behalf of your brand. So whether you're a small business owner looking to work with us, or you're also a social media manager or creative just trying to get a better grip of the social media landscape, this is a resource you're going to want to take advantage of. You want to head to our website, mkwcreativeco.com/resources. So mkwcreative.co/resources. This is the 2025 social media webinar. And just for you, I included the one-pager reference guide that we've also sent to our clients to really give you the full menu of options in one big flash sheet. So take advantage of it or hit the link in the show notes to get access to our 2025 social media webinar, because it is wild out there and you shouldn't have to figure it out by yourself. Good luck. Enjoy. I'm curious about the business coach. What else did you seek out your business coach to help you with?
Yeah. So when I started with my business coach, I was probably like 50% weddings, 50% murals at that time. And
Okay.
I knew that I was wanting to make that transition into being more like full time. When I was working full time for myself at that point when we
Right.
started already, but I knew I just wanted to be doing it like in the most efficient, best, smartest way possible. I never had a corporate job. I didn't do
Me
an art.
either.
Yeah,
We have
great.
that in
Way to go.
common. Amazing.
I love that.
It's
So
rare.
honestly, like it kind of is. Like I never did
Yeah.
any agency work or anything. I
Yeah.
don't have
Same.
like a business degree, an art degree,
Same.
any of that. So a lot of what I felt I was lacking when I started full time in business was just the confidence of like, I don't know what industry standards are. I don't know what the, like,
Mm-hmm.
I feel good about my communication. I feel super strong in like my skill set of what I want to offer people, but I don't feel super strong in how I offer it or how I manage it. And so that was really what I was seeking when I wanted like a mentor or a coach of some kind. I attended this creative conference, like it was right before the pandemic. So like oh my gosh, what year is it? It was 6 years ago. Oh my gosh.
Was it Alt Summit? Were we there at the same time?
No, it's called Letter West. It's a hand
Okay,
lettering.
I've heard of I've heard of Letter West. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I met a bunch of awesome creatives there. And again, at that time I was doing more like calligraphy and hand lettering work. But it was creatives of all types there. There was a gal I met there who she had been working with this business coach. And so I just kind of picked her brain, like, what made you choose this person?
Yeah.
How did you decide this is what you needed at the right time? So that was kind of how I got connected to the coach that I wound up working with. So I did the full, he's called Flammable Entrepreneur. He's awesome.
Okay.
We can link him in the show notes. He's great.
Sure, of course.
So I worked with him for he has kind of like a lifetime creative, which was like the first part A of his program. And then this accelerator program, which is sort of part B. And so I finished those 2 programs in like a year and a half. And then we partner on different like webinars and things still.
Amazing. Yeah. No, I think it's important too, like to your point, like you invest and you set aside the time for creativity. And then there's also something to be said about investing and setting aside the time to get good at the thing that you don't know that you feel like you're good at.
Totally.
And for me, like hiring a mentor was so helpful because I wanted to hire a full-time employee. I've never been hired full-time. I don't know what a benefits package looks like. I don't know what a handbook looks like. And I'm like, it's not that I couldn't figure this out on my own because I probably could Google it. And I really do believe that everything you want to learn exists on the internet already for free. But to have someone to just check my work was like so
that was it. That was 100% what I needed. Because while I was working my way through a lot of this program, there were so many things that came to light that I was like, oh my gosh, I never thought of that. Or I didn't know that I could do that way. And tangible things too, that they were able to provide like CRMs for me and spreadsheets and some things that I just like, I love having that in place, but I just grumble if I try to be the one to implement it on my own. So having that like provided was huge. But the other just big part of it was even they told me like, oh, you've been doing that exactly right. I was like, thank you.
Thank you.
Getting that pat on the back was what I needed.
Yes. Are you also the oldest child of your family?
No, I'm one of 2 and I'm the youngest.
I was going to say that's very much like an oldest child thing. Like I told this story the other day. I'm the oldest of 5 in my family. So I have 4 sisters. And I still like an opportunity to travel for this trip to go see one of my clients came up. I still went to my mom and dad's house. I'm like, I'm thinking about doing this. Can I do it? And they're like, you don't have to ask us. Like, you can just go. And I was like, yeah, but I just wanted to know, like, do you think it's a good idea? They're like, we think it's a fabulous idea and that you should go. And I was like, okay, cool. I just like carried on my way. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm 31 years old. What am I doing? But it is because entrepreneurship can be so lonely. And especially like when like being a boss and being responsible for other people's income is very isolating because although I have a great relationship with my team, there's just some things that aren't appropriate to talk to them about. And so to be able to have a resource and a guide, like I'm a big fan of it. And I really like poo-pooed it I was like, I can do this on my own. I like really poo-pooed it for a long time. But when you do find those good coaches or those good mentors, the other thing that stuck with me is like, they don't need to solve all your problems. You can just take what you need from them and then advance. Like you're not stuck at this level, you know?
They're like a business therapist. It's like they're like asking me the questions. Like I might be the one actually coming up with the answers, but I need someone to ask me those questions.
Yeah. And I've got to imagine too, it's nice to have someone that's also not a muralist. Because although your muralist community runs deep, as I'm learning, and like there's such a supportive, wonderful community amongst muralists and artists, it is nice to have somebody that's like on the outside. That's like comes at it from like more of a business angle. Talk to me about that dynamic because there's kind of this stereotype, of course, of like the struggling artist, right? And about that monetizing your craft is somehow like selling out. I hope that we're getting to the other side of this. I really do. But some of that stuff lingers. How have you either struggled with that or not struggled with that in your career or felt like pushed the boundaries on what you could charge. Talk a little bit about that because I know that's something that comes up a lot.
I would love to talk about that because that is one of my favorite soapboxes. Is that there is like starving artist is such a garbage idea. Like get rid of it. Especially with people who are like thinking of starting in a creative career, thinking of being an entrepreneur, wanting to start doing their own thing. One of the things I preach the most is like you do not need to hate your job to charge for it.
Yeah.
You do not need to hate what you do for it to be considered work. Like you should love what you, that's why we're doing this, right? Like that's why we're creatives pursuing these jobs. I love my job. That doesn't mean I'm not going to charge for it. So getting in that mindset of like, you can charge for things you like to do, right?
Yes.
I definitely struggled with pricing. I mean, in every aspect of it when I was getting started, in knowing how much to charge, in actually charging, in charging the right amount, in being comfortable with that. Especially in weddings, like I was so new to it and I was very green and I wasn't making a ton of money. So some of these people who would come to me and I would like put together estimates for them, I knew like weddings are expensive and I felt like bad putting together this big price point for them. And I just had to get over it partly. I had to see what other creatives were charging and just remembering like a rising tide lifts all boats. I don't want to undercut people in the industry because there's room for everyone at the table. And I don't want someone to choose me just because I'm like a cheaper option. Like there's a reason that you like what you do has value. It's a skill and you should charge that. One of the things that working with my coach reminded me, really underscored, brought to light was that you are not necessarily your client. And particularly when I moved into when I moved towards working in murals and working with these commercial clients, like I'm working with multi-million-dollar properties.
Yes.
$20,000 is going to be a lot to me as an individual who's a one person solopreneur. It is not even a drop in the bucket for some of these businesses. I mean, I was shocked when I learned some of the behind the scenes, like corporate world budgets that these places have.
It's like a new layer of your brain gets unlocked when you realize that your own money judgment gets in the way of your proposals. Like this happened to me literally within the last year, working with like a more startup company, self-funded. She's been in R&D for 2 years. And she's like, we need a PR box. And I said, yeah, okay, here's what I would do to keep costs down. And she's like, oh no, I'm willing to spend money on this. Like you only get one chance to make a first impression. I was like, well, if that's the case, then I would do so. I was like, I'm just so used to this mindset of working with business owners that have already invested a chunk in branding, and she had, and invested a chunk in packaging, which she had. But like, here's a third thing. And I'm like, oh, clearly you must be trying to save money by now. It's like, that was my own mental thing. And she's like, no, like I really want to impress people and knock their socks off. And I was like, well, in that case, I was like, well, if the sky was the limit, this is what I would do. She's like, I love where your brain's at. She's like, that's what I want to see. I want you to hit me with this. And what a blessing that is of like not having to, I was like, wow, I just put all these imaginary constraints on this project that weren't even there.
Yes, that is so big to remember. Another thing I'm like constantly reminding myself is do not negotiate with yourself. Like you don't need to add that line in your email that says like, but if that budget is out of range, let me know. Like they'll let you know. It's okay. You can certainly say something along the lines of like, this is what the typical structure looks like. Let's have a conversation if you want to explore other options, but do not negotiate with yourself. Like things what they cost because it's what they cost.
And I feel that women, we are so bad at this. Like we do this so much. And I 100%. Have to constantly proofread myself of like, we're writing new proposals for social media. I was like, these are just the base rates. If you need to taper back. And I was like, backspace.
Oh girl, I am Minnesotan.
If you'd like to taper back or scale up, that is an option too. You know?
I'm Minnesotan born and raised. I mean, we are the queens of like, oh, sorry, if that's too much, it's not a big deal. Don't worry. It doesn't matter. I'll give it to you. And that is just a real mold that has to be broken.
And it's a daily practice. And it
is a daily practice. And remembering to remembering that you set the tone for your business. Other people, your clients are going to treat you the way that you represent yourself, the way that you treat yourself. And so do that professionally. Treat yourself like the $1 million offer that you're making, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know if you're familiar with Lauren Hom. She's an artist.
Yes.
She had a post like a couple years ago that she said, you are not the Franzia of wine. Like you're not boxed wine. Charge the top shelf. Like you are top shelf. Charge it.
Well, and that's the thing is like what's so interesting about like art and creativity and travel and food and all of these things, right? Is like the market does kind of dictate what you can charge. But my dad told me when I was just starting my business, he goes, if you work for yourself, there's no limit to how much money you can make. I was like, Okay. And so then it's like game on. But also that there is just this wide range. Like someone just posted in the Facebook group literally like an hour ago, like, okay, I'm a graphic designer. Michelle, besides the podcast, what other resources did you have to feel like you wanted to like have the confidence to be a creative director? I was like, I'm going to be honest. I just woke up one day and said, I'm going to call myself this now. Granted, I'm not in the
100%.
corporate structure, but I think with marketing and creativity, like all this stuff is so loosey goosey. Like even industry standard, right? Like you can set the industry standard if you're a category of one. You know what I mean?
I was just having this conversation with someone recently saying like, it is so funny how, you know, and I in no way do I mean to like make this sound like a diss on people in the corporate world. I am amazed by what they do.
Girl,
like that structure
fine.
is amazing.
Yeah.
That being said, it is so funny how someone will just get a promotion and be like, vice president of sales of this department or what, and it's like the director, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, you know what? Why do I care that someone else gave them that title? I'm going to give myself the title.
I'm going to give myself that title. Exactly. And also, like, in talking to my friends that are in corporate, a lot of those titles are just freaking arbitrary.
Yes. Yeah.
Like, they don't mean anything. Okay, you get a new business card. Like, it's not that it comes with all these new responsibilities or that your job even changes that much or that your income even changes that much. So, given the choice of staying small or being big, like, I'd rather play big and then, like, grow into the big shoes. You know what I mean? Than continue to cram myself in a tiny box. It's just like, that's the fun part of it. And I think that's, it comes from a place of confidence and it comes from a place of like, I think you and I have a similar approach to business. Like, let's see how much I can get away with. Not to like get anybody, right? Like not a gotcha, but like, let's push the limit a little bit. Let's increase this proposal by 20%. Let's find a way to do this a little bit differently. And that's what makes business fun. To me, at least.
Same. Yeah. I totally agree. And pushing myself to like, I work best when I have a goal that I'm working towards. Like if I push it and they accept it, then I'm like, all right, let me get this. Let's do it.
And isn't it so funny when the proposal that you were most scared to send is the one that comes back and they're like, yeah, great. No questions.
Oh, in like 5 minutes. And then the one that you send that you're the most confident, you're like, well, I've done 20 of these. It's whatever. This will be quote unquote easy money. It's like, okay, 30 emails later, we're still going.
And they're like, we're deciding between you and someone else. And I'm like, well, if it's not 100% yes for you, I'm so not offended. Like I'll move on. But yeah, it's interesting the like ebb and flow of the client stuff on that front. Are there projects that come through your contact form where you're like, dream project, slam dunk?
Yeah. I definitely have those. Sometimes I don't always know it just from the contact form. Like sometimes it takes that initial call to like hear what they're excited about, to know like, okay, yes, I am thrilled to be doing this with you. And then the flip side of that is I also get ones that come through that I'm like, oh, I'm not going to be the right person for you. Yeah, and that's fine. Yeah. I'm happy to tell you that right away.
Yeah, I'm like that as well. Do you have projects on your like 2025 vision board that you're like, I'm dying to do this type of mural?
Ooh, great question. I have one that's coming up this spring that I'm excited about that is already like fully designed and ready to go. We just ran out of time to paint it last fall by the time it was like decided on, because it's an exterior mural in Wisconsin. So it was like, oh, well, can't paint that anymore because it's November. I'm really excited to paint that one because it's for like a welcome mural to the town, which is just kind of like nostalgic and fun, sort of like postcard vibes, you know? So I'm really excited for that. I think that'll be very cool. Other ones in the docket, I have a restaurant I'm talking to that I think would be really cool. I have a parks project I'm talking to that I think would be really cool, just to be in like a community space like that. I'm excited.
What do you think public art does for communities? I know that's a lofty question, but what's been your mental kind of wraparound of like why neighborhoods need public art?
Yeah. Kind of circling back to how I like stumbled into this industry even is just you don't know things exist if you don't know it exists, right? So like exposing people to different art, different artists, people, local art is amazing. I want to support local art, but bringing in artists from like truly around the world that offer things that can show people like this makes me happy to be around. Just on a most basic level, it like engages you creatively in that space. That, I mean, there are so many studies that show how important it is to surround yourself with art in the workplace and the home. I mean, it truly is like healthy for you. And then just on a, you know, paralleling my own journey more, like seeing, oh, wait, someone was actually hired to build that sculpture and that's their job. And they figured out like how these metals work and how this could be outside and someone designed it. Like just no, like exposing the community to all these different opportunities of things that could bring more joy to the world is a beautiful thing.
Oh, could not agree more. And I love also how muraling gives you a sense of place. I think
Mm-hmm.
that, like, to your point of like, yes, bring in people from outside perspectives, all these things, but at least in branding, we're noticing kind of the pendulum swinging to the other side. There was a trend for a while of everything started to look the same. Phoenix
Mm-hmm.
started to look like San Diego, started to look like Austin, started to look like Miami, started to look like Chicago. Like everything started to look really just ubiquitous. And I think like coffee
Mm-hmm.
shop culture got hit really hard with this. Like they all had
Mm-hmm.
all of a sudden they're all concrete and they all have the same chairs. And
Yep.
you're like, weird. But there
Yeah.
wasn't that sense of like if I feel like I can get it down the street and also 3,000 miles away, then it's like loses some of its specialness. And I think
Mm-hmm.
art and local art help connect us to the sense of place. Am I just making that up or are you feeling that too?
No, I totally feel that. And I mean, that's like what I specialize in when I'm working with my clients
Yeah,
and what I really quote unquote sell them on. I don't mean sell in like a give me
sure.
money way. I just
Sure.
mean sell them on like the idea of this being a great idea for our space is that it is such a tone setter. I mean, if you've ever painted
Yeah.
a room, you know how different it feels just by changing
Yeah.
the paint color. So add like imagery to that, add multiple colors. I mean, you can make a space feel like modern and brutalist and bold, or you can make it feel like super gentle and playful. And I mean, and
Mhm.
at the end of the day, it's amazing. Like it's paint. It's just paint,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know?
True. Truly. Oh,
Yeah.
so exciting. Well, where can we see some of these beautiful murals that you've made? Let's find out where you are on social media, how people can get in touch with you, work with you, all that good stuff.
Yeah. So on social media, I am on Instagram at Made by Molly Jo. It's all one word, MOLLYJO. And my website is the same thing, www.madebymollyjo.com. You can send me a DM. You can contact me through my contact form. If you are also a muralist or a fellow creative, if you have questions, hop in my comments or DMs anytime. I'm always trying to connect with new people on there.
Yay! Well, thank you so
Yay.
much for your time today, Molly. This was such a good episode. Guys, if you loved it, make sure you send it to a friend, share it, save it, subscribe to the YouTube channel, leave us a review, do anything else that I can think of. That's pretty much it. And we'll catch you on the next one. Thanks so much, Molly.
Thanks for having me. This was a blast.
See ya. Bye.